Opinions that matter. Now, Ben Fordham comments.
Well, there's been an interesting revelation on the referendum. It's not the date, which we believe will be October 14. The Australian Electoral Commission has given an update on how the voting will work. So on the day of the referendum, every voter will walk into the polling booth, will be given a piece of paper with the proposed change to the Constitution. It will say, in recognition of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first people of Australia, 1, there shall be a body to be called the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Voice. 2, the voice may make representations to the Parliament and Executive Government on matters relating to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. 3, the Parliament shall, subject to this Constitution, have power to make laws with respect to the voice, including its composition, functions, powers and procedures. And it's then up to all of us to make a choice. So how do you make your vote count? Well, the Electoral Commission boss, Tom Rogers, has tried to explain.
Just for people listening, please make sure you write on that box yes or no in English.
OK, that's pretty clear. So you're given the referendum question, you either write yes or no in English. That makes sense. Nothing too confusing there. But nothing is simple with the Australian Electoral Commission, because here's more of Tom Rogers on Sky News.
But I need to be very clear with people. When we look at that, it is likely that a tick will be accepted as a formal vote for yes, but a cross will not be accepted as a formal vote.
Hang on a moment. What did he just say? Let me replay that one if I can, because he seems to be saying you can tick the piece of paper, that indicates a yes vote, but if you put a cross, that won't be counted as a no.
But I need to be very clear with people. When we look at that, it is likely that a tick will be accepted as a formal vote for yes, but a cross will not be accepted as a formal vote.
How bizarre. A tick counts as yes, but a cross does not count as a no. That sounds dodgy. If you're going to count the ticks, you've got to count the crosses, don't you? Otherwise, the yes camp has an advantage. And this isn't coming from some random commentator. Tom Rogers is the commissioner with the AEC. Surely he would see the unlevel playing field here, but apparently not. The Sky News political correspondent Tom Connell could see the obvious issue.
Does that effectively inflate the yes side? The no side might say, well, hang on, it's a lower bar for the yes side?
No, not at all, and they couldn't be taken that way, but that's why we're spending a lot of time talking to the community about what constitutes a valid vote.
Well, I think Tom Connell was on the money. It favours the yes campaign. What's the Electoral Commission thinking? Just tell people, write yes or no. That's it. Or why wouldn't they just have the words there and you circle the word yes or circle the word no? And if you don't do that, your vote doesn't count. And they have been saying all along, you've got to write yes or no in English. Now, all of a sudden, he seems to say, well, if you tick the box, that's a yes, but if you cross the box, that's not a no. The AEC's website has a practice ballot paper. It clearly says write yes or no for your vote to count. But then when you read the fine print, it says we will always admit a ballot paper where the voter's intention is clear. But now you're telling us a cross doesn't count, but a tick will be counted as a yes. The Electoral Commission has one job. We're giving them $365 million to hold the referendum. Tom Rogers is on more than the Prime Minister. He earns $600,000 a year. How hard is it to get this right? And it's ironic that the Electoral Commissioner Tom Rogers is also warning about fake news. He says the referendum has been subject to the highest level of misinformation we've seen. Well, Tom, I think you've just added to the confusion. Joining us on the line with his view on all of this, someone who's dealt with elections many times before, the former Prime Minister, Tony Abbott. Mr. Abbott, good morning to you.
Ben, good morning to you and your listeners.
Seems awfully confusing.
It does. And, it's quite simple. I would have thought you either vote yes or you vote no. And I certainly are urging people to vote no. But the problem with all of this is that there's a suspicion, Ben, that officialdom is trying to make it easier for one side At least as initially reported, it seems that it's going to be easier to get a yes vote than a no vote if a mere tick is going to count for a yes, but you've got to specifically write no to vote no. And this is the worry all along, that there is a lot of official bias in this whole referendum process.
He's no dope, Tom Rogers. He's on $600,000 a year. He is the Australian Electoral Commissioner, so he knows what he's talking about. And I want to replay again. This is what he says about the ticks and the crosses.
But I need to be very clear with people. When we look at that, it is likely that a tick will be accepted as a formal vote for yes, but a cross will not be accepted as a formal vote.
You've got to have the same rule for both camps, don't you?
Well, I would have thought so, Ben. Otherwise, it's not a level playing field. It's not a fair fight. And if a tick is a yes, why wouldn't the cross be a no? And really the only way to get away from this kind of confusion is to make it absolutely crystal clear that you either vote no or you vote yes. But marks of one sort or another that are neither no nor yes don't count.
Well, that should be the message to everyone. You write the word yes or you write the word no, otherwise your vote does not count.
And given that this is such an important issue, given that this is the biggest change in our constitution that we've ever been asked to make, there should surely be no confusion or uncertainty about what constitutes a valid vote. And unfortunately, I don't want to be personally critical of the Electoral Commissioner, but nevertheless, it does seem that this is causing confusion, and that's a real problem.
Yeah, Tom Connell from Sky News certainly jumped on the idea that this may create an unlevel playing field.
Does that effectively inflate the yes side? The no side might say, well, hang on, it's a lower bar for the yes side?
No, not at all, and they couldn't be taken that way, but that's why we're spending a lot of time talking to the community about what constitutes a valid vote.
He's wrong on that, the AEC Commissioner, isn't he, Mr Abbott? Because if you're only counting symbols for one side and not the other, then one side is going to receive more votes.
Well, this does appear to be the case, Ben, and as I said, this is such an important change. It's such a departure from the kind of constitutional equality and everyone is equal mentality which has marked this country and has been such a wonderful part of our country ever since the beginning. This is such an important change. We want an absolutely level playing field. And if a tick is a yes but a cross is not a no, it's just hard to see that there is a level playing field. So I think it's a big problem. I think that the Electoral Commissioner really needs to clear this up, and the only way he can clear it up is by saying the only way to cast a valid vote is to write no or yes, but anything else, it just isn't going to work and it isn't going to count.
We appreciate you jumping on the line.
Thank you, Ben.
Good on you. Former Prime Minister Tony Abbott. We've invited the Electoral Commissioner on the program, but apparently he's unavailable.